Hello everybody, the Lawn Gnome is here.
Cool.
Back in 2000, a group of people over at 20th Century Fox decided that they had to make a statement. And that was, we're going to officially announce to the world that comic book films need to be finally taken seriously. And thanks to them, they introduced us to the new age of the comic book film in X-Men. And now we sit here 20 years later with the final installment of this X-Men cinematic universe now that the torch has officially been passed from Fox to Disney, and that is Dark Phoenix. So, we all know that the X-Men Dark Phoenix saga is known as one of the greatest comic book stories ever told. Quite frankly, possibly the greatest X-Men story ever told. And it all went horribly wrong with X-Men The Last Stand. So now, the group decided, with a new director in Simon Kinberg, to finally give us a movie that truly focuses on Jean Grey, inhibiting the Dark Phoenix entity, and basically tearing the people that she loves apart until they finally figure out how to free her from this monstrosity that could be the end of life as we know it. So, I have to say that my expectations were somewhere in the middle at this point in time, because first this movie got pushed back, and then when the transaction that gave the X-Men franchise over to Disney occurred, the movie was immediately pushed back again, and I said to myself, oh no, what's going to happen? Because even though I did have a nice soft spot for X-Men Apocalypse, I was very nervous about what was going to happen in this movie. So now that I've officially seen it, and this story is technically officially over, it all depends if New Mutants ever actually does make it to theaters, I have to say that I fall somewhere in the middle. I will, however, say that this movie does have a lot of great moments. It's definitely the darkest X-Men film that I have seen. I think that the acting in this film was some of the best that I have seen since Logan. I truly appreciated Sophie Turner's performance as Jean Grey. I loved her so much in this movie. She actually got me to get every kind of emotion out in the open, whether it was fearing her for about to make a killing, to really feeling for her in a sad way because she knows that what she is doing is something she doesn't want to do. I also truly appreciated that they finally gave Cyclops a lot of room to do something in this movie, because we all know what happens to him in X-Men The Last Stand, and there were also a ton of Easter eggs to so many X-Men fans out there. There was a specific one that a lot of people are talking about, but not exposing, because they want everyone to be surprised. I have to say, even though I knew it was happening, I was very happy to see it and very excited for the fact that they actually gave us this little nod. But there were also a couple of other subtle ones that I actually caught that I thought were really great. I thought that the third act action sequence, the climactic train battle, was just absolutely incredible. Very intense, very high octane, and it was just so amazing to watch. We also have a stellar score from Hans Zimmer. The fact that he actually came to score this final X-Men film was without a doubt one of the highlights of this film. The score is just beautiful. It's intense and it's emotional, and it really does drive this movie. But even though these are all great things to talk about, there definitely are some negatives to go along with these positives. One of the things that I wasn't too thrilled about was the fact that this movie takes place quite a number of years after X-Men First Class, and at that point in time, Professor Xavier and Magneto are definitely somewhere in their mid to late 30s. But now we're in the year 1992 in Dark Phoenix. These guys are pushing 70, and they still look like they're in their late 30s, early 40s. I don't understand why they actually did that. It would have been great to actually see this film be a little bit more realistic and age them, because they didn't even age Mystique, They didn't age Beast. It was basically as if they were living in a time capsule going from decade to decade to decade, and nothing was changing. The younger X-Men, it made a little bit more sense to keep them young because it was literally just a couple of years, 8 years, I think, between Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, so to not age them too much was definitely something that was a little bit more believable and realistic. But for the other cast members, not so much. There were also a couple of surprises that actually happened. I was a little bit intrigued by the fact that they actually took a couple of those directions. There also are some political things that are thrown in there, but quite frankly, it really doesn't take away from this movie. I mean, I know that there's so many people that are constantly making a stink on the internet about this one line that comes out of Mystique's mouth, and quite frankly, I really don't give a crap about it. It doesn't do anything to destroy the movie, at least for me. I really did not enjoy the antagonists of this movie. This alien race, it definitely doesn't seem like something that even came from the comics. I mean, if you are gonna include an alien race in this film, you gotta give us a comic book one. Anything from the Shi'ar to the Brood, it would have made so much more sense. But these aliens, they just looked like they came from an episode of the X-Files, and they were all just insignificant to me. I didn't care about them. Even Jessica Chastain, who is one of the most prestigious actresses in Hollywood right now, I didn't care for her character. I didn't like the role that they gave her, and her whole role between Jean and the Phoenix, it just wasn't something that was right. It just didn't fit for me. Also, there was a massive plot flux in this film because I seriously thought that in X-Men Apocalypse, the Phoenix was already in Jean, and in this film, she gets the Phoenix inserted into her being, so I don't understand what that means. I mean, are they trying to retcon things again? I wasn't quite sure, but because of all of these discrepancies, it really didn't make the ending of this 20-year franchise up to total satisfactory, especially for all of us who have been there since the very beginning. I've been going to see all these X-Men films since 2000, and I really enjoyed myself every single time that I went. But for the fact that we didn't get that truly epic conclusion and sign-off for all of these characters left a lot to be desired. But there could be a silver lining to a certain degree, because if you've seen the movie, you definitely know how this movie ends. So what does that exactly mean? Because of the fact that the torch has now officially been put into Disney's hands, Disney does want to bring the X-Men into the MCU. They don't know when, they don't know how just yet, but they know that they're gonna be there. So the question is going to be, how? Are they actually gonna give us a whole new cast of characters played by a whole new casting of actors? Because in my personal opinion, McAvoy, Fassbender, Holt, Turner, all of these people that have been playing these characters in recent years, I would love to see them come back and reprise these roles, because I really did appreciate them, and I think that they really did fill the shoes of Patrick Stewart, and Famke Jensen, and James Marsden, and Ian McKellen, so they've all done a good job giving us a new incarnation in an X-Men franchise that was already established and done a couple of different ways in good taste. But could we see these characters returning in future Marvel Cinematic Universe films? I'd like to hope so, because I think that we can see some truly great movies, and I really think that these actors can really create bigger and better personas for these already iconic characters that have graced our big screens for the last 20 years. But will they do it? I'm not sure. But because of what we got at the end of Dark Phoenix, the sky is the limit as far as I'm concerned, and the ball is in Disney's court. However, I would say, if you have been there since the very beginning, Dark Phoenix is a movie that you should definitely see, because it is just the end. You know, you want the end. I actually personally feel after seeing Dark Phoenix, we could have actually ended with Apocalypse, because the way that that film ended, I really did appreciate it, and it also sort of like left the door open for when Fox would give the rights over, and then they could just capitalize on the X-Men from that point. But at the end of the day, Dark Phoenix is what it is. Is it a movie that I'd like to see again? It's definitely not going to be one of those X-Men movies that I'm going to pop in my DVD player over others, because Days of Future Past, X-Men, X2, those are the truly great movies, and Logan, of course, as well, but it still is going to be a movie that I will see again because I am a completionist, and I would like to have this movie in my DVD collection as well. So, that's my review of Dark Phoenix, everybody. I'm going to give it a 2.5 stars out of 4. So, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Please leave your comments in the box below, and let's discuss Dark Phoenix. And I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.